Welcome learners. We have here yet another session of Introduction to Journalism and Mass Communication, and today we are going to deal with emergence of digital media. So, to begin with, we are covering in this session what digital media stands for, how digital media is different from online and new media, the characteristics of digital media, which includes interactivity, convergence, immediacy, archiving, linkages, etc. And in the next session, we'll be dealing with more interesting and practical sort of things. So let us begin with this. Digital media. Now, we all know that digital media has taken the world by storm. Earlier, as long as there was no digital media, we only had traditional and folk media, and to some extent some alternative media as well. But with the coming of digital media, the various gaps between the one who produces a media message and the one who consumes the media message has not just reduced, it has also overlapped. So every industry today is relooking and reinventing various processes like production process, like resource management, like marketing, and it is aligning all of these processes to the rules of the digital world. Why? Because probably digital has become the norm today, and it is the best means of reaching people inadvertently and in large numbers. So media industry too has undergone a sea change through the digital transformation process, and each and every function of the media organization is affected by the new technologies in the recent years. The prime aspect, or let me say the prime characteristic of these new technologies is that they're not just easy to use, they're also very cost effective. And if you have a small smartphone, you can do everything precisely which is required in the digital world. While some media houses were very prompt and active in embracing these changes, others lagged behind. Laggards, though, could not resist the change for long, and they had to hop onto the digital bandwagon to survive in the industry. And slowly they too embraced the technology's meaningful role in the digital world. I'll just give you an example. 5 to 7 years back, we used to say that print, the way it was dying in the West, you name any good newspaper, the Washington Post, the New York Times, they have all died a slow death when it comes to the physical form of the newspaper, because people at large started preferring the digital formats of news selection and news consumption. In such kind of a scenario, we were still progressing very well with our print media. The growth in revenue and the growth in circulation was good enough, and to the extent that media pundits were predicting that our print media will continue to take longer strides for the next decade or so. But today, we know the reality. Especially after hitting of the pandemic, we all know how not only the physical form of newspapers have thinned, people's consumption of news and newspapers through e-modes, through digital modes have increased magnanimously. So ideally, this is the situation where if you resist change when it comes to technology or digitization, you won't be able to survive in the industry for long. Now let's look at how digital, online and new media are different and what makes them similar. In the context of media, there are a number of terms which are used interchangeably, like these three: the new media, information and communication technologies, digital media, online media, multimedia, convergence media, etc. And there are some overlaps, but the meaning varies with the context from one form to another. Like when we talk about the information and communication technologies, now according to the World Bank, ICT consists of hardware, software, networks and media for collection, storage, processing and transmission and presentation of information, which could be in the form of voice or text or images or data. So this is what is ICT as defined by the World Bank. Digital media, on the other hand, the digital process is imbibed in digital media, which breaks down all the information. This information is, like I just said, data and text and graphics and audio, pictures, video, all of it together. And it breaks down into a sequence of numbers or digits, 0, 1, transports it by wire, cable or broadcast frequency to a destination and then reassembles it back to its original form. That is how it is processed, and that is how the message in its entirety reaches the audience. So this is digital media. Now digital media refers to audio also as well as video, as well as the still photographic content that has been encoded, which means digitally compressed. Encoding content involves converting audio and video input into a digital media file such as a Windows media file, JPEGs and MP3, MP4, you know it all. After digital media is encoded, it can be easily manipulated, distributed and rendered by computers and is easily transmitted over computer networks. So once, because we are making use of digital media, the language to be used for transmitting a code or for transmitting a message has to be encoded in that language. And once it is encoded in that particular language, it can be manipulated. So you can change it, you can cut it into half, you can break it, you can amend it, you can distribute it. It can be played by computers and is easily transmitted over computer networks. Now the examples of such digital media types could be the Windows Media Audio, WMA, or the Windows Media Video, WMV, which are commonly present in all laptops, MP3, JPEG and AVI. MP3 is basically used for audios, JPEGs are for still photographs and AVIs are for videos. So these are, if you would notice in your laptops, these are basically the extensions of the files which you save. So if it is an audio file, it will be saved as MP3. If it is a video file, it will be saved as AVI. And if it is a still photograph, most of the times it gets saved as JPEG or GIF. So those are the digitally encoded contexts of language. Now when we talk of new media refers to those digital media that are interactive in nature and they incorporate two-way communication and involve some form of computing as opposed to the old media. Well, new media is no longer so new, but yet when we say old media, it could be telephone, it could be radio, TV, so on and so forth. And this distinction was given by Robert Logan in the year 2010. When we talk about online media, this is a generic term which is used loosely to describe digital information access. So while new media refers to those digital media, new media is also digital media, online media also has digital media in it. But when we talk about new media, we're talking of its interactivity, we're talking of the two-way communication aspect and how it is a different tad altogether from the old media which has been into picture so far. But when we talk about the online media, we are talking about a term which is loosely describing the digital information access. So we're talking more about the access, we're talking more about the retrieval and dissemination, use, share of the online, of the content on online media. So this means accessing information on internet via modem or telephone line. Multimedia, as the word suggests, multiple media being used in a particular content. So it means the use of more than one media technique. It could be text, it could be audio, still images, moving clips, etc. To tell a story. And the multimedia news story then is any piece that uses two or more media to tell it. So when do you call it multi? When you're making use of more than one media. So two or more is called a multimodal content. These terms are deeply linked and thus are difficult to distinguish. The significance of limiting this definition is largely contextual. So it largely depends upon the context by means of which you're describing a certain content as digital or online or new media content whatsoever. So while the information and communication technology encompasses everything from hardware to software to the process by which it is getting communicated, which is the dissemination of information, the focus is on what makes any information digital as per the digital media definition. In new media, the stress is how this digital media is being used with interaction and with the help of this two-way communication, which are its important features. So new media can only distinguish itself on the basis of this. Multimedia, however, is a combination of two or more media techniques, and it does not necessarily include any kind of interpretation, any kind of interaction, or two-way communication. So it is easily possible only when the information is available in digital format, because when we try to use multimedia, we are talking of, say for example, GIF images or graphics, or we're talking of text combined with certain music. It is possible to collate them and bring them to derive certain meaning out of them only when it is available in the digital format. While there is an overlapping basis for these, however, each of these terms have some distinct features. And here for this session, we are using this term digital media to include online platforms, to include social media, and the new digital tools, the technological tools, and the new ways of packaging and dissemination of information, all in the context of media industry. Now let us look at the characteristics of digital media. There has been a massive growth in the popularity of digital media world over in the last decade. In fact, digital media is seen as a threat to the legacy media. Wherever there is a decline in newspaper readership, digital has been quoted as one of the major reasons, major factors, which is not necessarily untrue. See, because whenever we're talking of the traditional media, the legacy media, just like the example of newspapers and its growth that I gave to you in India, it is about the decline, a steady decline of physical form of things. Why? Because things are slowly turning digital. Say for example, education. We are going on beyond books. We like digital format of books which are available in any of our devices at any point of time and ready to be read. So ideally, digital is the major reason, major factor why the legacy media has taken a back foot. So its certain characteristics make it stand out from the rest of the media. The first of this characteristic is, and the most important, is interactivity. Why do I stress so much upon interactivity? Is because to this date, we're still struggling with making interactivity better than before. Not that it is bad, but we're wanting to make it better than before. Because whatever new technology we have, however cost effective it is, or however easy to use and adopt it is, the communication that it is set to do, because it is basically a tool of communication, it will be successful only if the interactivity power of this technology is enhanced. So the most important characteristic that distinguishes digital media from traditional media is interactivity. It allows people to rate a particular content. It allows you to share, like, comment, dislike any message that you please. And now there is a shift from that limited interactivity which traditional media offered earlier in the form of letters to editor or feedback programs on TV and radio, to the unlimited interactivity that digital media offers now. Now, I will give you an example. Slowly, at least the people in the urban belt are shifting from television to Netflix and Amazon. And I usually give this example. Now, when we talk about Netflix and Amazon, if you have watched a web series, at the end of it, people are so passionate about it, they would like to visit the site of Netflix and make a comment on the web page of that particular web series. Now, those could be clamoring for more. So, when is the next series, season 2 coming up? It could be a degrading comment. They did not like certain aspects of it. It could be an upgrading comment, it could be a compliment, and at the same time it could be complete discussion of a character which was a part of this web series. So ideally, we're in a position to get this kind of an interactive feedback from the audiences in multitudes. So there are lots of people, there are a large number of people, and you are on the other hand, Netflix is on the other hand able to prepare large data sets through which it will accordingly make improvisations in its programs, in its web series, in its films, or the Netflix originals, whatever it has to show. So ideally, we have moved multiple strides ahead of what we were in times of the traditional media, in times of the legacy media. So interactivity is the most important component. This interactivity not only allows people to respond or react to the messages constructed by the media houses, but it also turns a consumer into a producer, wherein people are not just consuming media messages, they're also producing it, they're also constructing it and getting feedback of others who are watching it or who are being exposed to that kind of media content. Now, the feature has turned passive consumers into active producers. So this is the difference. This is how media has become more strong when it comes to playing a role in the society and in the polity and the economy. Most of the news portals nowadays are offering opportunities to the users to interact with the content in case of interactive stories. Like interactive stories will offer you more than one options. So they will not provide you a certain kind of ending. They would give you an option of how you would like it to be. They will interact with the producers of the content, and they are also providing space for the user generated content. So that's how news media is changing by means of using digital media. Report for CNN is an example of how mainstream media encourages its audience to interact with the platform. Now let us see what reporting for CNN actually is about. Here the interaction is not just by writing comments or rating stories which are done by CNN. This is an interactive international monthly half-an-hour TV program which showcases the most newsworthy and informative contributions through citizen journalism reports on the internet. So besides sending it onto the platform, the citizens can also post it on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. It's like the kind of content that you like, you obviously would like to share with a few limited people. So you have this facility of sharing this post of CNN on Facebook also, on Insta also, as well as on Twitter. Now let us look at the second aspect of this, which is convergence. So far we were talking about interactivity, about building in partnership, and about knowing people's opinion about the content which has been presented. Now let us look at convergence, which here we were in the earlier aspect when we were talking about interactivity, we were talking more in terms of the source of the information and the recipient, the receiver of the information. Now we're talking about the tool through which we communicate and how convergence has a part to play. Digital media makes the merging of various mass communication formats like print and television and radio very active and very easy. So we have little softwares, we have means and ways of doing this in a very lighter format. On the internet, every medium resides next to the other. So you do not really, like earlier when the newspapers were overtaken by television, people feared that because of the television, newspapers would die a slow death, but that did not happen. When digital media has come into the foray, it has placed all the various formats side by side. So every medium resides next to each other and none of them have really anything to fear from the other. Now you can listen to an audio interview, watch an event happening and read the story at the same time. That's the beauty of digital media. Journalists are using one medium to tell one aspect of the story and the other medium to tell the other aspect of the story. So say for example, some heinous crime takes place somewhere and a journalist would try to re-imitate how the whole thing took place. That could be in the video format. The analysis of how this happened could be in text, as well as something could be on the audio, some kind of evidence which shows or indicates towards certain thing could be in audio format. And together this makes for a much stronger story than what we used to get on TV or what we used to get in the newspaper. So when you're using multiple formats and at the same time you're distinguishing various aspects of which format are you going to present, of which aspect you're going to present through which format, it makes it more beautiful and it makes it more, come alive. For example, a story on a satellite launch in India might use an explainer video to explain demonetization, or the photographs to tell how it was being implemented, the text to analyze the initiative, and audio for interviews with the experts. All these elements could be combined to tell a story on launching a satellite, and this is also called multimedia journalism. In this case, each media element has an important role to play in the story, and each one of them rests side by side. None of it is competing with the other. Multimedia reporting is usually confused with parallel reporting. In simple terms, I'll try and establish the distinction between the two. When we talk about parallel reporting, it is 2 or 3 journalists who are covering a story for print, video and audio. When we are combining more than one media formats, that is what we are calling multimedia reporting. It is not necessary that in multimedia reporting there should be different journalists who should be covering it. In fact, most of the times it is the same team working in different formats. So in such cases, these stories are independent of each other as they are separate stories told by different journalists. So parallel reporting is a notch different from the multimodal or multimedia reporting. Even if it is uploaded on the website, the only thing they have in common is subject. Otherwise, the stories are vastly different. In multimedia journalism, whereas various media elements are weaved into the story according to the requirement of the story. Now, there are a number of digital tools which can help the journalist in writing a multimedia story. Now let us look at, so far we talked about interactivity and we talk about convergence of the tools, convergence of technologies together to come up with something which is having the good characteristics of all the tools that we merged. Now we're talking about immediacy. In today's fast moving world, what is most important is immediacy. How soon can you get to the audience? How fast can you deliver the goods? How fast can you bring up this information, especially in the world of economy? Now, another important characteristic of digital media is immediacy. While in radio and television, only one thing can be shown at one time and then you show the another or the previous one which has to be interrupted and then you show it on. In websites, you have multiple stories and the same can be updated as developments on those events taking place. So what happens with the digital media is a story has been reported on a website and then after 2 hours there are certain kind of updates which are available. Accordingly, the story will be updated and renewed. This is not the case in the legacy media. A single story can post a number of updates on the same story, while the other versions are also available. So social networking sites, by introducing live broadcasts, have changed the game altogether. We all know that there is a live feature in Facebook. There are so many different kind of live features in various kind of technologies of social networking that we make use of. And they have completely been a game changer because anybody, anywhere can report live. Traditional media houses as well as locals can broadcast any event live in this. And the broadcast feature, though offers a lot of opportunities with just a smartphone in hand and no other infrastructure. But at the same time, the use of this feature has drawn a lot of criticism. Live broadcast is a new trend to add to this, and the latest feature is that of 360-degree video by the live broadcast app like Periscope. So Periscope is a kind of app which allows you to make a 360-degree video. So it is not just a live shot but a 360 video on Periscope, and through this one can experience moments with the broadcaster or the reporter and take a look around. It's one step closer to actually being there. So if I'm reporting on the forests of Amazon, I can bring in a 360-degree video and you can be a part of this immersive experience whereby you were able to see exactly what things look like the way I saw it while I was recording it. So this is the beauty of a 360-degree video. And now let us look at archiving. Another characteristic that differentiates digital from the legacy media in its inherent capacity is to archive news stories, is to archive videos and audios and infographics and things like that. The shelf life of news, which used to be very limited earlier because the newspaper would not last more than 24 hours, has increased tremendously with all sort of content lying in different shelves of the website. So any sort of content which had been displayed on this website 5 years back can be taken out today and it can be re-researched on. So archiving provides you with that kind of a value. one can visit that content anytime, and the tags and keywords act as keys to those shelves. Now, though the content that has been archived stays there until and unless the source has it removed. So there are times when you go back to a YouTube link and then you find that the content has been removed due to copyright issues or due to anything that the source of the information may deem fit. So that is one thing. Now, for example, an article on global trade can be accessed by typing a search query in the search box. If the article is given a tag like trade or say for example Indian economy, etc., it will be easy to retrieve that article from the repository, which is full of millions of articles relating to trade. So that is a helpful factor. It is important to have well archived website, but the same should be well searchable also. At times it is well archived, but the search words are such, or the keywords that have been imbibed into it are such that the necessary story will not be able to come out. So that is something that every news media owner should look into. The archiving can also help writers to provide important context to what they are presently writing and can be an excellent resource for research. So say for example, if we want to write on the possibilities of war with China in today's times, and we would like to figure out how we lost the war against China in 1962. The archived stories are going to give us a much readily available looks at those stories, and we will be able to research better while we are writing on the story of today. So for readers, it provides an opportunity for non-linear consumption of content. One is linear consumption. You're following up a story, the story is getting updates, you're following that as well. So you get to know what's happening new. But when it comes to something that happened in 1962, only the archival data will be of use and of help. Now they can create their own stories by reading different pieces written by different people, different journalists at that point of time. So that is about archival content. Now we come to linkages. Archiving and information available on the web makes linkages possible. It is easy to link the article to something which has been written earlier on the same topic, or with an article on the same subject written by a different writer. So that is where we make use of tagging. So whenever we hashtag something, it means the topic is the same, and people from various backgrounds or people who have an opinion on it are talking about it. So the kind of linkage that we are able to provide through it makes a lot of sense, because we are at one point of time we are able to gather the opinion or facts on a particular story by various means. So linkages provide depth to the story. So if you're researching on a story, the best way is to look at archival data as well as to look at the linkages, because that is what is going to provide you with the best possible information all collated at one place, which has been the reality of the past. In digital, for any story, the amount of space is limited. So is the case with print, TV and radio, where there is a limited space and time. While in legacy media, the challenge is to tell the entire story in a limited time and space allocated to it, but the digital media overcomes this challenge by providing links to other material which is relevant to the story. Now, it could be the article in the same website, or it could be some report lying outside the website. At a number of times, we also see hyperlinks. So if you're researching on something, there will be a hyperlink which will take you either to some portion of the same website or to another website. Now, linkages broaden the scope of the story, and multiple angles can be explored at the same time. And that is the beauty of it. So while you're looking at, say for example, coronavirus, there could be multiple aspects of coronavirus that could be connected to the, linked to the story at the same point of time. So coronavirus in India, how did the corona-free countries deal with it? The time it broke first in Italy and France, how it originated from China. So those are the various readily available, relevant, important aspects of the story on coronavirus. So these linkages broaden the scope of the story, and multiple angles, can be explored all at the same time. it also poses a challenge of losing a reader to some other website or content. Now, this is something very, I should say precarious for the news owners, because when you're producing a content, you definitely do so with the idea that it will get you some more eyeballs, it will get you more hits, more visits, and the website will be liked better, good comments will come, so on and so forth. But you end up losing the reader to some other website because the hyperlink or the keywords that were available in your article have led him to further research onto some other websites where he or she can find more relevant data than yours. But then this is also something which is a part of the game. You can't really help this. When people look for information, they don't just see one website, they look at multiple sources, they look at multiple websites, they ask various people, so on and so forth. And it becomes very difficult to bring the readers back to the site once they have navigated out of the website to look for some other content. In fact, this is also the winning model for advertising. What happens is we are looking at a certain kind of content and advertisements pop up, and sometimes people do end up visiting the website of the advertiser. So the person who came over to your website got lost with the advertising. But this is something which you can't avoid, which we cannot get rid of because it is all a part of the game. So therefore, it is important to use linkages strategically in any story. When I say use of linkages strategically, what I mean is you should be able to communicate to the reader those kind of linkages which are going to also offer your linkages in return. So if I am collaborating with another website, I should see to it that it should be it should be a website which should be in a similar business, so that when I am hyperlinking their content, they can in some context or the other hyperlink it back to me. So when people will visit their website, they are also liable to visit yours, like your visitors will visit theirs. So strategically, one has to design how linkages are being provided in the website and how it can be of use, because unlike the previous times, unlike the older times, this is the time where such communication has suddenly become very important, because it is able to fetch us with data. And large data sets do wonders for any organization, any company, by means of data analytics. So that is all for today's session. See you again in 5 minutes. Hope you found it enjoyable. Thank you all.